Everybody, and I hope that you've had a really productive day today at TOPkit. Welcome to the Beyond the Syllabus Exploring Faculty First AI Assistance. And we're happy that we get to go out with a bang for the session for the very first day of workshops. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. So we're actually not both with the University of Delaware. I am with the University of Delaware. I'm Lauren Kelly. I'm an instructional designer, and I'm also kind of a self-proclaimed AI learning strategist of sorts, since we've been working a lot with generative AI. And I'll let my partner in crime, Jason, introduce himself and where he's from.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Matthew. I'm an educational developer at Toronto Metropolitan University. Yeah, it's really good to be here. I'm looking forward to the session.
So, really quickly, in the interest of time, Jason and I had gone back and forth on the best way to try to present what we have for today. And so, what we figured is play is 100% required. So, we have pre-configured some notebooks and some gems that we find may be of value as these kind of faculty first AI assistants. And so, today is all about free play. And so, in this session, we will actually free play between gems, notebooks, and then a combination of a gem and a notebook to basically show you what all is capable and just some of the ways that we're thinking about it that really help faculty save some time, um, think at higher level, and basically that whole hybrid intelligent model with AI. So this is the way that the session will work. So each of us will we've broken this up. So Jason will start, and Jason will start out with a gem. So we'll take about 10 minutes. He'll demo it first, kind of helping you understand the motivation behind it and the purpose behind it. Then you'll free play with Jason based on that gem. And then from there, just be thinking about just kind of how the gym is operating, what your thoughts are. He'll give you some scenarios that you'll pick and choose from in his activity. So in the first activity, it'll be one of three scenarios that you can pick and choose from. Then it'll toss it over to Jason again. Jason has a notebook that you can work through, and he'll show you some really crafty things based on the notebook. And then we'll round things out with me showing you a combination of the two. So I will introduce an idea from a nursing standpoint, from a kind of a bonus hybrid experience across the two tools. So it's basically this idea of using a gem coupled with a notebook to create a really supportive environment for a department and department faculty. So without further ado, if you would, could you scan the QR code if you have another device? And then if not, the other thing that we can do is we'll share the notebook link, which is actually in these slides here. And actually, this is what I'm going to
And
do
I
here.
also
So
dropped the link in the chat as well. So
awesome.
yeah,
Thank you, Jason. Because I was just going to say, oh, we should probably drop it in the chat.
yeah, it's
So
there.
if you can access it that way, or like I said, if you have another device, maybe you're on the go, you're headed out for the day, you can do this stuff on the fly. And in the spirit of the session, we only have a certain amount of time, but all of these things are asynchronous, and you can work through everything on your own outside of the session. So one other resource that's a part of the resources, there are lots of resources in what we're calling a workbook, but there is one here. A lot of times, Jason and I have both been talking about this, and we have our own struggles with when you use a gem versus when you use a notebook versus when you use both of them. So, in the spirit of how we put this together, like as kind of faculty first, and even supporting administrators and supporting students, we wanted to kind of play this out where you can actually see how the gem and the notebook could support each other and even separately. So this is a Google site. I use AI to help generate this based on the context of what we were doing for this workshop here. And so you could scan the QR code for that as well. All of these resources are in the workbook as well. So just wanted to kind of orient you to that. So what you should see when you access the workbook is you should be able to force copy and you'll have access to all of these resources. Um, just to go through really quickly, this is the activities sheet that you'll be referring to for the free play section of everything. We also have a lot of cheat sheet items. All of Jason's resources are found in here based on his course design coach gem. All of access to his scenarios, other resources that accompany those, my custom instructions for the gem that I created for this session, And then we have a couple for IDs that are in the session. We played around with AI, and then from an ADDIE standpoint, what could be the workflow when you're working with gyms and when you're working with notebooks. And then more importantly from that, just a general breakdown of why you want to use a gym, why you want to use a notebook, and the spirit behind that. And then, of course, other resources. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to go ahead and let Jason take it away with free play for activity number one.
Okay.
And
If I'm,
Jason, I'm starting the timer too.
oh boy. All right. There we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. If I'm lucky, you all are seeing the activity workbook as you share screen. Yes, Laura. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So the
All right, we
so
got some thumbs up. We're good.
Oh, okay, excellent. Um, for the interest of time, I may have to go a little faster than I would like to, but please stop us, ask questions along the way. I'm happy to go over anything that you all need for me to go over. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is a gem. So you're going to be looking at gems and notebooks. They are all under Google Gemini. So the Gemini is the large language model that is the engine behind all these things. So some people may be wondering, well, why would we use a gem? And a gem is a customized chatbot. So instead of using Gemini all the time, and you could use a gem where it gives you that consistency in terms of the tone and the information is going to be given you. So the first one we're going to be looking at is a course design coach gem. And if you click on it, it should open the gem for you. And it's supposed to act as a course design support for educational support professionals like IDs, as well as to support faculty. And we have created three scenarios there. And what we want to do is that if you could copy the prompt and paste it in the gem. So I'll demonstrate. So first of all, I will click on the link to the gem. I'll open that. So now it is going to open up the gem. And I did it a million times before. It didn't take this long, but there you go.
That's technology for you.
Yeah,
Share in the chat which scenario that you selected. Was it one, two, or three?
yeah. Mine is taking a long time. Okay, so this is the gem. And if you click show more, it tells you a little breakdown of what the gem is. And you could type in hello to get started. So it tells you what it can do, some of the things it can do, some things you could ask it. In this case, we're going to be looking at three specific scenarios. And if your computer is moving much faster than mine, please choose any one. And you're basically copying the prompt. So not the scenario, not going to copy the scenario, just copying on the right-hand side, that column where it says gem prompt, copy and paste. So like for instance, if I was doing scenario one, I would just copy, can you evaluate the alignment down to the assessment? So basically, for that first scenario, you want to look to see if there's alignment between the learning outcome, activity, and assessment. So I'm going to copy that into the gem and see what kind of response it will give. So you all could try any one of them. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you're getting stuck anywhere, and you can and feel free to also unmute and let us know what you think of the quality of the output.
Okay. Let me know if anybody's stuck. I resubmitted the link for the gym in the chat just in case. I think everybody's good, Jason.
All right, excellent.
This is really cool.
Yeah, and remember, it's supposed to be a conversation. So even if you don't get the output you're looking for initially, keep asking it questions and challenging it and see what happens there.
Okay, so it looks like we had some threes, some twos, and some ones for scenarios.
Oh, nice.
All right. Feel free to share in the chat what you're finding too, as you
Yes.
reflect while you work. Did any IDs pick or Shmies pick the heavy text PowerPoint option for 3. I'm sure IDs can relate to that one.
Oh yeah. I see Sue has a thumbs up.
Yep.
She
Mhm.
knows the pain.
Charlotte says she selected number 2 and she really likes the implementation checklist, Jason.
Oh, nice, nice.
Lisa said number 2. Chris said I like the follow-up questions at the end, and I think the information shared is actually teaching me how to be a better reviewer myself as I'm looking through what the AI generated for a response. Excellent. Thanks for sharing, Chris.
And Chris, we actually intentionally put in the instructions for the gem to keep asking follow-up questions and so on. So that's all part of the design.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
So Lauren, you're my official timekeeper. So you tell me when it's time for me to start
Okay.
jumping into the next one.
All right. If everybody's okay, please feel free to share in the chat. Why don't we move on to activity number 2?
Okay.
That'll leave us time to talk if people are working pretty quickly.
There's one thing that I want to show you all, like how it looks under the hood. So if I go to my, I don't know why everything is going so slow today, but we'll see. If I go to Gemini,
It's
and I
probably
go,
tired of all the testing we've been doing,
I know
probably.
I've been testing all
Yeah.
day. This is the first time it's going so slow. I even did a restart this and hopefully it will, oh boy. Okay, so if
There
I
you go.
go to gems, please go to gems. All right, and I go under the hood. So I go to edit. In case those of you who are not familiar with GEMS, if you all are ChatGPT users, you all may have heard of customized GPTs. It's the same premise. And so you need to give a name, a description, and the instructions on what the gem should be able to do. And the reason why I'm showing you under the hood is that if this was a normal Gemini chat window and you will keep asking the questions, after a while, it's going to lose the memory and forget what its role is and stuff. But because you are given the instructions, every time you put a query in, the gem goes back to the instructions and makes sure that it has that same role and everything. So it's always consistent with its responses. And in the worksheet that we have shared with you all, if you look at the second tab, I've provided all the information. So you can take this information and adapt it to create your own gem. So as you experiment and if you want to do other things, it's all there for you to use. Please give us feedback on if you found ways to improve it or anything. I'd love to get that feedback as well. But all the information is there to create your own gems as well. So now we go to the next activity, which is activity 2, where we look at a notebook. So please tell me if you have heard this before. Um, Faculty are coming to you and saying, "Listen, now the institution expects me to teach students about AI and academic integrity, and I already have so much on my plate already. Is there any way in which I can get some help with that?" And one of the ways in which you can do it is that you could create a notebook that helps with answering some of these questions that students may have about the use of Gen AI in the course. So if you would access the notebook, you need to click on this link here, Bio 101 Responsible AI Guide. And if you click on that, it should send you to the notebook. And I will go to the notebook here. So this is what yours will look slightly different. I'm looking at it from the administrator side. And so you see there are 3 main columns. The column on the left is where you could add sources. And this is because I have created this notebook, so I could add sources and stuff. You are viewing it, so you won't be able to add sources. But the sources I've added was, for instance, this one I'm creating specifically for the Bio 101 course. So I have the outline, and then I have all the institutional policies on Gen AI. So I have the academic integrity AI use. and I have the general literacy guide, and all of these are on our website, and it's free to access if you want. So you could use, so the thing about Notebook LM is that is when you use normal Gemini, it's pulling information, or any LLM, you're pulling information from its entire database. What this notebook does is that it's only pulling information from the sources you have given us. It's grounded in those sources. So any question I ask about GenAI use in Bio 101 is being pulled from these sources that I have given it. So you could add sources by clicking add sources, or you could have done a web search and get some sources there. But the best way is to validate the sources and add them there. And then in the middle window is where you're going to be asking questions. And in the third column on the right is the studio, where you could have done like podcasts and slide decks and so on based on the information from these sources. Now, when I brought in these sources at website, they would have had all kind of long names and stuff. So what you want to do is for it to make sense is also you want to click on these ellipses next to each one, and you can rename these sources. So that's what I did. I renamed them so I know exactly what these sources are. And why is that useful is that sometimes like for instance, you might want to get a question just from the academic integrity policy. You have a question just for that, and you don't want to be pulling information from there. All you could do is select all the sources here, so you uncheck everything, and then you just select policy 60. So you just pull in information from there. So what I want you to do now is go to the workbook, and there are these different prompts you could try. Now we won't be able to do all of them, but look at through those prompts and put yourself in the like as a student, what might be a question they might be asking about in terms of GenAI use and this hypothetical Bio 101 course. And if you have another question that you want to test the notebook with, feel free to try.
Any questions for activity two for Jason? Everybody okay? You have a nice prompt library there for beyond the session.
Just 23 questions. And I'm hoping that we capture some of the typical questions that students might be coming to instructor to ask about. And so this kind of saves the instructor time from answering this question 15 different emails. It saves time.
Sonia said, I love the notebook idea for student questions because it pulls from the documents you provided, less hassle than creating an agent that may go rogue. Very good. That's a very good point. That's the whole reason for using the notebook.
Yes.
So maybe about another couple minutes, Jason.
Sure. I know some of you said that this is probably the first time you're using Notebook LM. I highly recommend it. This is it's also a great research tool. Like if you're looking to look for gaps or to synthesize information across different sources. So the cool thing about this is that you could add videos, you could add images, you could add voice memos. All of those could be sources, and it's going to be analyzing all of that data and bringing in trends and patterns for you. So it's an excellent, and you know what? I'm kind of giving away a little piece of what Lauren will do, so I'll say no more.
So we did have one question. I feel like I saw it a second ago. Where'd it go? How do students access it? But I don't know. Where did it go? I feel like it was here. Um,
Oh, but
so,
for the
well,
access, oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Oh,
So
no,
for
go
the
ahead. Go ahead. Go
access
ahead.
part, what you do is that it's like sharing a Google Doc. So there's a share button. So you will click share, and then you have different restrictions you could choose, just like how you would share a typical Google Doc. And also, if I'm going to go back to the workbook, I did provide some resources here. So like I'm going to go to the Bio 101 Responsible AI tab, and so what I did is that I also give you like a sample paragraph that you could include in your course outline. So this could be like here, this could be like a sample paragraph you could include in your course outline with the link. So the students will have access to it.
I'm answering some questions in the chat here. I think there was kind of a question about hallucinating and, could it go rogue? Um, yeah,
All all of these genii, there is that potential for hallucinations or we call fabrications. The good thing about Notebook LM is that it significantly reduces the chance of that simply because it should be at all times pulling from the sources that you give it. And
correct.
also the additional layer of transparency that it has is that and I didn't show that part, but if you look at some of the outputs, you see that there are little numbers there. So it gives you where it's pulling the information from. So that's another way in which you could validate if the information is true or not. But
Yeah,
but with any Gen AI, there's always that chance, but it's significantly lower when you use a notebook LM for sure.
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to ask you to field remaining questions into the chat. And Jason, why don't you stop share and then that'll leave us rounded out for about 10 more minutes.
Sounds good.
We can showcase some other things, and I want to leave room for questions if I can do that too. I hope you all are having fun with free play. All right, so now this is actually the bonus one that when we were chatting together, we were like, okay, here's a gem, here's a notebook. Let's talk about a workflow, right? Because a lot of this is about workflows in your where it's faculty first or it's, staff first in your roles. Because as IDs, we a lot of times wear these hats where we may have to help with accreditation or we may have to help with curriculum mapping and so forth. So we thought about, well, what about a hybrid experience between these tools? And if you're following kind of Google's tools, and particularly with Notebook and with Gems, there's a lot of integration that can occur across these tools, which is actually very, very cool. So I'm on the worksheet now. I want to share that there's a little bit of, well, a lot of bit of context that I wanted to give you for some different ways to think about this workflow. So the scenario is, for example, I used nursing for accreditation. Our program underwent accreditation very recently, so I thought this would be a very good example. So if a department chair wanted to develop a gym for purposes of helping faculty within the department do their own curriculum mapping, upload all of their syllabi and things like that. So the department chair I could see uploading all of the syllabi in there, beefing up that gym, training that gym with standards across the program for objectives, from courses and things of that nature, and just packing the gym with all of those resources. That chair could then also create a notebook because I was talking with Jason and I said, well, how often is it that probably a department chair would offer some type of professional development for their faculty, in preparation for accreditation? Probably not, but you could use these tools to kind of serve as this virtual assistant for all types of professional development in regard to that. So you could use the notebook from the standpoint of literacy for accreditation, understanding the standards, understanding from the American Nursing Association, all their other accreditation standards and policies and competency-based objective learning objectives that they have to have. All of those things could be fused in, and you could use the notebook to help filter through that literacy. And you could use the notebook to develop all of these learning objects that kind of fit everybody's needs. If they want to listen to a podcast and interact with the podcast and ask questions, if they want to just see a video overview, if they want flashcards to become more familiar with terminology, they could use the notebook to do that. So within this here, this is an example workflow. So you could use the notebook to build literacy. You could use the gym to then have the faculty do curriculum mapping. They could go back to the gym, deepen their understanding based on standards that are all packed into the notebook for understanding in that knowledge base, like Jason showed you from his example and activity too. Then they can come back to the gym and refine things. And then they could actually start pulling stuff together for the self-study in preparation for accreditation or any reporting that the department chair may be asking for, maybe on a semesterly basis. So really good tools to couple together to do that. So that's what this is, to just break it down to say, well, the notebook can say, well, what does this mean? This is the literacy behind everything. And then the function for the gem could be, how am I actually demonstrating that, right? Across all of my objectives, across all my standards. And then just to show you what you could pack into each tool, here are some examples if you're using the nursing scenario. Okay. So let's dive into the actual activity itself. So try to make this pretty easy. So if you're in your workbook, you should have access to a public-facing notebook, which actually I'll go ahead and put this in the chat again for folks here if you're not able to access from the workbook. So this is the notebook, right? And you can access that. And you can actually, in this free play, you can do this whichever way you'd like. If you want to try to use it from the standpoint of the workflow that I gave as an example, you could do that. Or you can just use my use case that I put here, right? So here are some questions that you would pose to the notebook, right? So that you would best understand how you could use the notebook. And what's really clever about the notebook already has really intuitive prompts already there for you based on what's housed in that knowledge base and what you might want to ask of the notebook. So you can use mine or you can use the suggestions from the notebook. Does anybody have any issues accessing the public facing notebook? We okay? All right. And then when you're ready, you can move on over to the accreditation documentation assistant gem. Then you could do that. I've given you some documents if you don't already have, like you happen to be in nursing, coincidentally, if anybody's in the audience or you help support nursing, you can use your own materials. But here are materials that you can use. You can click on each of the link, download them to your computer, upload them back into the gym as context. So you can say, help me get started. I want to do this curriculum mapping. And what I'd like to show you is when you actually test it out. So this is what I did here. I tested it out, and this is what's very cool. So I've shared with you a public facing notebook, right? So you could essentially grab that notebook, right? And you could populate it here that I've shared with you because it should be shared with you. Use that as context. Plus, you could use the syllabi as context, which you see that I did those here. And then I entered my prompt here. And as you can see here, the gym introduces itself, lets you know what it's going to do, and immediately it goes to work and it starts to do this kind of cross-referencing across the domains for nursing, across other things for the University of Delaware, right? Since these are our classes here. And then it also starts to dive into the course itself, looking into the syllabi, right? Each of the syllabi and crossing over the domains and the learning objectives or the outcomes within the course. And it did that for both of the courses. And you can see the links here where it goes to each of those reference points from the knowledge base. So just quite a clever way to, I think, use it, right? In that kind of department to faculty, faculty to department to pass it back, where everybody is kind of empowered to do their own curriculum mapping, establish their own literacy for the process, where everybody's on board, right? For accreditation, you're not necessarily waiting until the last minute and there's this scurry. So you can actually use these tools to create a really nice clearinghouse and a pretty smooth process for a really difficult process and stressful process. So I'm going to stop talking. I think we have a couple of minutes. So I'm going to actually stop my share and see if people have questions about anything. So Pepper, just did, Jason and me with questions about workflows or if it sparked any ideas. We do have some reflective questions at the very end of the first three activities as well, for you to just really think about, how you felt when you were doing the activities and, you know.
I just wanted to say that it wasn't my first time using Notebook LM. At first, I thought it was, but then I realized I had used it a few years ago, and I really love how the interface has improved over the last couple of years. I think that I'm going to be
Yeah,
using that more often.
yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So many different things. I'm going to have more time to go through everything.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you. Very cool. Yeah, Jason and I love working together for this. Jason is actually the inspiration for gems. I was not really using gems quite like that until I met Jason, and Jason and I partnered for an AI series that my institution hosts each semester, and he really got me into gems and like sparked my kind of and my ideas for how I could actually use gems. So gems are a very great productivity tool. So don't sleep on gems. Gems and notebooks are very, very helpful for us as IDs, as administrators, program managers, things like that.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions for our presenters before we wrap up for the day? Please feel free to unmute and ask away.
I know we are still learning, so please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, email. We'd love to hear from you what you all are doing as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you all. Thanks for exploring and playing.
Yeah, it was great to be here.
Fantastic.
And
And yes, I see everybody in saying that they have made lots of bookmarks, great resources, great presentation, such an inspirational session. And there is one question though, to pick your brains, what do you think would be a good approach to use Jim or Notebook for AI literacy education?
yeah.
That's a very interesting question.
Yeah, I would probably maybe do both. I would do exactly what I did for nursing accreditation,
Mhm.
where you can lean on the notebook for just literacy in general, like videos and things like that. Like Jason has a plethora of wonderful YouTube videos. Like I would put those in there. I found other videos. I would put all of those in there to kind of help support us on the literacy side. And then the gym, you can actually use the gym and create kind of a scenario assistant to help them work through scenarios for, what's responsible use, what's ethical use. So you could play between the two. But Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly that. So you could use a combination of the two. Let the notebook be the brain of the system. So that's where it's pulling all the information from the sources and stuff. And the gem is that means of that vehicle of having the conversation. So the gem acts as the AI literacy expert, and it's pulling information from the gem. Because well, if you look at the gems, you could one of the resources you could add is actually Notebook.
Hmm.
So it works as the brain of the gem.
Hmm.
So in that case, you're not pulling from the entire internet, you're pulling from trusted sources. And that's the best way I would advise to do it.
And the bonus is that notebooks allow you to link to things, YouTube videos, and actually raw URL links where
Yeah.
you can't get that with Gemini. So it's the best of both worlds because you could pull that notebook in as like all of your knowledge base and context to help support the gem.
And on a nerd side of things, it has a large context window, so you could pull a huge amount of information. I think it's like uh 25 million words or something like that is the context um, limit for
Oh my
notebook.
God, that's a nice fun fact, Jason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is so incredible. Well, thank you again
Yeah.
so much, Lauren and Jason, for an incredible session. Big round of applause, and truly so much more that I know you could have shared than in the 30 minutes allowed. But truly, I know that a lot of us are bookmarking lots of great resources for your presentation today. So this brings us to the end of day one for our TOPkit workshop. I'm going to hand it over to Susie Spraker, who is our TOPkit co-lead, and take it away, Susie.
Oh, thank you, Charlotte. Oh, so you guys have made it. Yay. We've had lots of engagement and innovative ideas. Maybe as we're closing, you can put into the chat what was your biggest takeaway if you could choose one from today. So as we're wrapping up, go ahead and share it in the chat. Maybe somebody else thinks it's their biggest takeaway also. Join us back tomorrow for day two of Top Kit in the Top Kit Big Top. We will have another day of engaging sessions and speakers. We'll start with something fun, of course, in our carnival theme. We'll do the Top Kit Top Talent, so you can share your hidden talent, celebrate creativity in our community. So you can take the survey there for that. We will also have, backed by popular demand, our future of ID panel, led by our own UCF's own Kevin Corcoran. We started this in 2024, and we keep, continuing the conversation. So that will kick us off, and then we'll have other engaging and innovative and and thought-provoking presentations throughout the day. Just like today, we thank all our presenters today. We thank especially David Wiley for his thought-provoking and inspiring keynote. And thank you all. And I hope you enjoyed the Big Top and come back tomorrow for day 2 of it. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much. See
everyone.
you
Have a great
tomorrow.
afternoon.
Bye, everybody.